Percentages converting from fractions and decimals with number chips. This is a digital lesson, and this is the Christmas version. And it starts out with explaining what a percentage is. It's a comparison out of 100. And it gives some very easy conversions from decimals to fractions. So here, if it's 56 hundredths as a decimal, it'd be 56 hundredths as a fraction, which is a comparison out of 100 or 56%. And it shows some others here, and then one whole would be 100%. Students are going to start on slide 3. So they have these number chips. They're going to move around their screen. They're going to put them in the correct place to solve for the percentage. These are pretty easy. This will give the students some practice moving the chips, so they just click and hold on the edge, and then they can move it wherever they like. And some very easy conversions. So 12 100ths would be 12%. 59 hundredths, 59%. And then one whole again would be 100%. So they've got every number they need on every slide. And if they get to the end of a slide and the numbers aren't working, then they know they've made an error somewhere and they need to go back and check. So in that way, it's self-checking. So then another way to convert from a decimal to a percentage is to move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So you can see on each of these, they're moving 2 places to the right. Now here, if we have a whole number with a decimal, this would end up being 174%. And if there's no number here, but you have to move the decimal point, you have to add a 0. So this would actually be 30%, not 3%. So in the next slide, students have got a couple that are a little bit tricky. They've got to move that decimal point 2 places to the right. So this first one's pretty easy, 65%. This one's a little bit tricky. If they have to move 2 places to the right and there's no number here, they have to add a 0. So that would be 70%, not 7%. And here, 23%. Here would be 6.5%. And here again, we have to add a 0. And then 7%. Okay, when they get to the next slide, they're shown how to convert from a fraction to a percentage. So first we're going to convert from a fraction to a decimal. So we want the fraction, if we can, to convert to an equivalent fraction with 100 in the denominator. If we get 100 in the denominator, it's very easy to convert then from a decimal to a percentage. So here they just multiplied the numerator and the denominator by the same number to get an equivalent fraction. So students are going to be doing this on the next few slides, getting some practice. Here they know that they just have to multiply 20 times 5 to get 100. If they multiply 20 times 5, they have to also multiply 6 times 5. That gives them 30 hundredths, which would be 30 hundredths as a decimal, and then 30%. So we're going to get some more practice doing that. And then they're shown what to do if they can't easily convert to a fraction with 100 in the denominator, they may have to simplify their fraction first. So here I can't multiply 40 times anything to get 100, but if I simplify my fraction, I get 9/20. Then I can convert it to a fraction with 100 in the denominator, change it to a decimal and a percent. So students get a little bit of practice doing that. I'm going to simplify first. Now, if they can't do that either way, for example, with 5/8, we can't convert that fraction to anything that will give us 100 in the denominator. So here we have to use long division. So 5 divided by 8. And we get our decimal equivalent. We move our decimal point 2 places to the right and get our percentage. So students are going to be doing this on the next 2 slides. Here, most of the problem is done for them. They just have to figure out the quotient. So 8 goes into 10 one time, which is 8. Subtract, bring down. 8 goes into 20 2 times, which is 16, subtract, bring down, and 8 goes into 40 evenly 5 times. And then to change that to a percentage, now this is a movable decimal point, so they have to know where to place it in their answer. I'm going to move this decimal point 2 places to the right, so it's going to be right here, and that would give me 12.5%. The next slide, they're going to do all of the division themselves. They have several numbers. And again, they know that they have to use every single number, and they need to place that decimal point in the correct place in their answer. So that is a digital lesson on percentages, converting from fractions and decimals, the Christmas version.